Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Bo Snail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Air Skeptic, and a literalist, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Also, link below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. With that, I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Google and Discord so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
I didn't sleep well, but besides that, good.
Me neither. But besides that, good also.
Awesome.
Excellent. No complaints then?
Good. Is Discord working?
Nobody in there yet, so it seems to be I'm flashing
Okay.
in there.
No problems.
Guess we'll find out.
Hello.
Hello, Neil.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Lots of reverberation.
I'm in the basement, so I'm going to be going in and out.
Okie doke.
Popped my eardrum when you came
But
in.
I'm very upset because I want to hear the spanking that Sink Cleanser is going to get today.
Sink Cleanser? Why would Sink Cleanser be getting a spanking?
Nathan, there's a downward bias. He could prove it. He could prove the ether. So, you know, I told him, do me a favor, just
Hang
come on 24/7 and do that.
Did he get rid of the tea kettle, the egg, and the balloon?
No.
Well, it
Okay,
sounds like
then
it's
we
already
don't
been
have to
dealt
worry
with.
about sink cleanser.
It's already been dealt with by the sound.
Well, they're saying that electrostatics are moving on the balloon. That's why it's rising. No matter what you tell them, then you can't say downward bias.
Right.
They got this whole thing. There was a bunch of them on this other server, and supposedly Bobby
Why
Odell
does
was
it bother
on.
you so much?
Well, no, it's the argument. Don't bother
Why
me.
does it-
Bro, listen, that I couldn't give a crap. It's the argument that we're having. So
Yeah,
It'll
we're having
come
with
your
people
way.
who deny reality, right? Yeah, if
Well,
it comes
they
my way,
have-
I'll say, well, once you...
let's hear their points. That's all. I wasn't there. I can only go by what I heard. So I think it's going to be an interesting show today. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have reception.
What
I
makes
hope
you
I can
think?
at least listen. So I'm on mute.
What makes you think he's coming on?
I told him to.
Okay, we'll see.
Guys, you just don't understand. That's how gas appears to overcome gravity. It doesn't overcome gravity.
Then it's not
That's
appearing
deep.
to or actually overcoming this not actual force.
Right, by appearing to not overcome a not actual force, it's not overcoming a not actual force.
I see. So it's not overcoming the not actual force then. It's going the other way to the bias. Yeah, we know. That's a very convoluted way of saying it's not doing what the bias suggests it should do.
No, it's a double negative, so it is.
Sorry, it is going down, go boom, boom, because it's not going down, go boom, boom.
It's going up and down at the same time.
You're finally starting to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad you gave us this clarity.
Yeah. This argument is going to go bias, but it's not bias.
It's going to go bias, is it? Excellent.
Oh my gosh. You can only debate it for so long, right? I mean, it just gets crazy.
No, nothing slips bias.
Nice one. Okay. Pull that out of your hat when you need it. So Nathan, I'm going to send you a couple of slides again.
Okay.
Let me get to it.
The slide man. I enjoy
Nothing
them
gets
too, by the way.
nothing gets by us, right, Neil?
It was good.
All you got to do is let me sneak in a geometric horizon and I can prove the globe.
Okay. Heads up.
I can't do it right now because you're expecting it.
No, okay. But still, thanks for the heads up.
Okay. All right.
I
here
think
we
that's
go.
why. Oh, sorry.
No,
Go
go
ahead,
on,
Tim. I was
No,
just
no,
gonna
I'm
say that's why the. I was gonna say that's why the dip angle measurement, when you talk about it, is so important, because then you're assuming physicality within it. You know.
Yeah, what are
I
you
know.
measuring is the next question, isn't it? Oh, right, you're measuring the physical geometric tangent point horizon that used to block boats and buildings. Where do you measure this? Well, we don't. It only exists in the maths.
Boy, here it comes. Slides come in the different order than I chose them, but
Okay. Where do you want me to start?
go to the one with the black and white sextant first.
Okay.
All right. So basically, everyone knows sextant is a measuring instrument to figure out angles from the horizon up to the luminary in the sky, and directly above you would be a 90-degree angle since the horizon's at 0. So now that we've seen that slide, go to the one that says angle of elevation that has the dotted lines.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this is how it works. And what you need to realize is that where the corner is to the left of the picture is where the observer is with the sextant, creating the vertex, and that's where the angle is achieved. And the straight horizontal line there at the bottom is equal to the water surface, so it's at 0, the baseline. And then wherever the star is. So if the star is there, let's call that 35 degrees, that little angle elevation in red. But if it's directly above you, that top line would be a right angle and it'd be 90 degrees. It's real simple. Let's go to the chart, third one down on Master B. Do you see that one? Angle relationships in circles?
Yeah.
Okay, so in a circle or a sphere, what are the angle relationships? So it says vertex of the angle on a circle, inside a circle, or outside the circle. And it gives you all the different ways. So on the circle would be an inscribed angle. So you're going inward, not outward. Opposite of the sextant, because on the sextant, you're on the surface and you're looking at the stars. So this on the circle is always inward. The inside is obviously could be shown with many lines. It could be the radius all by itself, forming the 90-degree, or what you see there, 2 lines intersecting inside. Any number of lines intersecting inside create a vertex. Outside the circle, now this was interesting because I'm going to draw attention to this. So outside the circle is a point in space, and two tangent lines coming at the circle. And you could see the tangent point on the first diagram is touching at one point on the circle, and the other one is going at 2 points inside the circle. I believe that's called a secant. Okay, let's go to the slide that is the first one with the red lettering. It says when angles and circles are combined, there are only 3 places the vertex can be. Now, I just described this, but it's worth going over again. So you can have inside, so you see the vertex there. You can have it on the circle going inward, you see it there, and then outside. You following so far?
Yeah, I'm following along.
Okay, great. So let's go to the picture of the 2 tangent lines hitting the blue sphere.
Okay.
So this is forming a quadrilateral, and its point is outside of space. And notice 90-degree angles at a point where the line is touching at that single point on top of a sphere. And I'm going to tie it into the last picture. Practical example of tangents to a circle from an external point is that of light rays emitted from a source and falling on a spherical object. Now, this is very interesting that this slide was even there, because we know the sun doesn't come in parallel rays. It comes in crepuscular at funny angles. We have enough evidence, our own eyes. And so using their own slides, talking about geometry and how things work, it is impossible for that sextant to work on top of the surface of a sphere and create an angle. This is so devastating to the globe model. So where are they getting their angles from?
Yeah, where are they getting the tangent? Do you know the answer? They don't.
Correct. But guess where they get all their angles from? To the latitudes as well as the longitudes? From the center, from the radius, where nobody's at. So it's all presupposition that we live on the ball. And the only way you can have the angle work is if you go from the center, which nobody goes there to do sextant reading. And light also must come in parallel, which it doesn't. So on both counts, they're dead.
Yeah, according to their own descriptions, they're dead on both counts. It's devastating. They can't get the straight line that is necessitated because we are on a flat plane. That's how it works. That's how it measures. That's how you're going to have to utilize it. So they have to invent a straight line on a ball to get the measurements to work when you're actually in the real world. And they don't have a straight line. In reality, there's plenty. That's how the world's actually working. You're using Cartesian. So it just frustrates me that people don't see it yet.
No, it's
but you've
beautiful.
got to keep banging the same drum tenth.
I am. It's beautiful. It's just the sextant can't work on the surface of an arc surface. I mean, a curved surface or arc, either way. So the only way they get their angle is to say everything goes to the middle.
Right. They use a zenith to a presupposed center. Yeah, that's how they beg the question in the first instance. Just assume that your zenith points to the center of a presupposed spherical Earth. Get your datum. Get your tangent plane based on your 90-degree to your tangent on a ball. And then you've got your flat surface to work with to draw all your angles from. But you haven't got it because you've got a flat surface beneath your feet. You've got it because you've derived it from a zenith with a 90-degree imaginary horizon and then referenced a datum that says you're on a ball. So they take those 3 steps to get you to presuppose a ball to give you a flat line, which they don't have in reality on a ball because we're not on a ball.
There's another trick. There's
John.
another trick too with the dip angle. And you kind of give it away when you have to describe it and say the optical drop of the horizon.
Exactly. Their dip angle is to a physical location, and they're measuring it optically. So what is the dip angle being measured to? Well, it's being measured to the tangent point, isn't it, John?
Yeah, but if you completely ignore the words that I use, then I can say, well, why is that horizon lower than what I assume it should be?
Exactly.
I just sent you 2 pictures of a tangent plane. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, John. Hey, Neil.
Yeah, Brian.
Okay, got your picture up.
Yeah, so here's a tangent plane, and you can see the sophistry right here. They
Drawing
measure it
out
on a flat surface,
square,
and then
and in nautical terms, what is it? 600 square miles.
I missed the first part of that.
When they're drawing out this flat tangent plane, right? So let's say let's say point A on your diagram is England, and I'm going to assume that when I drop a plumb line, that's my zenith, that it's pointing to the centre at O. Well, then from that point, you then draw out what you actually have beneath your feet to begin with, which is a flat surface. But they're saying that it's been derived from tangent, zenith, 90-degree angle, and dip, which is what John just discussed. Well, all of those measurements are being used to derive a tangent. They even call it what it is after you beg the question with the datum. You've then got a tangent plane, which is what you've got in this diagram.
Yeah, and you're referencing plane sailing, which they say up to 600 miles, it's flat.
Exactly. For them to do anything, they've got to consider it as flat. Well, why? Because it is!
Indeed.
20 minutes into the pre-show, and these dielectric acceleration guys, nobody's on. Scaredy cats, scaredy cats.
Boy, you are fanning the fire.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Meanwhile, the majority of the Western world think they're on a spinning ball flying through a sky vacuum and spinning.
I wanted to address this, Nathan, because you said 20 million. Okay, so it's 20 million is enough. Do we have to add another 19,000 to them? Hello?
Talking about the people who believe in a replacement for a
Well,
non-existent bias as a description of electromagnetism.
You compared two, what do you call it? YouTube channels, right, or whatever.
Smarter Every Day and
One had
Globebusters,
20
correct?
million, one had 19. Okay, so you got 20 million. Okay, great, or whatever, how many million. So we don't need to give them another 19,000. That's all my point is.
Still don't get your point. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't
Because
worry about
only
that.
19,000 at Globebusters as opposed to 20 million over here. Why do we got to give them another 19 is all I'm saying.
Golly.
Yeah. Whatever you guys
Can't
are
get that
talking
either.
about.
I'm with you, Eli. Yeah, indeed.
I understand, Neil. What you're saying
Thank
is,
you, Brian. Thank you.
yeah, what you're saying is that you're going to have another 19,000 people believing in something that isn't real or that isn't the cause of the effect. If as well, along with a lot of other people who believe in something that doesn't exist at all.
Oh, really? Oh, I can point you in the direction of ghost channels, Bigfoot channels, alien channels. Which one do you want to go for first? Which fish you're frying?
He's on to me.
Can I point to a benefit of this?
We're talking about the nature of reality.
Sorry,
Nathan, I
clairvoyant,
wanna attack
speaking to the dead.
The cube earthers.
Anybody else I can name that's in a bullshit sector of society that's got a little limited audience by comparison to the Western worldview of heliocentrism?
Before you guys go there, you just realize we just killed the globe with the sextant, and you guys are off to this dumb subject.
Didn't get a chance. Thank you for the presentation. It's epic, and it's getting more and more concise and polished. Thank you very much, 10th man.
I'll continue it later. Bye.
I got it.
Look,
It looks like we're going to not end up with this topic. We're going to go to some electrical charging again.
I saw the what you posted. I like it. But yeah, please bring it up again.
Look, Neil's expressing the views of many. in our little sector of the internet. Well, lots of people are getting in touch with me about this and saying they want it discussed and they want it pulled apart. Now, my reply, boil your kettle and you've pulled it apart, doesn't seem to go over unless it's got 25% minimum drama attached to it. And I think people are just drama queens. They just want to talk about some other opposing person in our small group of people that doesn't have the same opinion as us. I just don't see it. I don't see it as important.
If you, I'm hearing feedback for some reason. If people go listen to the shows we've done on it, we all addressed it, we killed it, and it's like, who's ignoring it? Every time it came up, we bring up, okay, this is what they're saying, show it to us. They can't, tea kettle, egg, balloon. There's no downward bias. So where's the argument if there's no downward bias? So it's not like we're not talking about it or haven't killed it.
There's a benefit
All that
to
happens. Sorry.
Adam.
Elijah, fill him in
Hey,
what was
guys.
going on today. What's up, Adam?
Well, just because
Yeah.
somebody else is talking about it after we killed it, what, we're going to stop the world from talking about it?
What are we? We're flat
No,
debate, right?
no,
Is it
well-
not part of the debate?
Well, Sinclair came in being annoying as usual. I mean, that's just an annoying participant in the
Correct.
conversation every day. And there's a lot of those, Nobody's going to look for what's that guy that's always talking about the dodo? Like, no one
PJ.
is going to attack him,
Oh, I don't know. I'm watching you, Pete. If you're listening, I'm watching you.
Do y'all want to hear the benefit of this?
Yeah.
Well, the benefit of it is the same thing as when they did that Behind the Curve movie, and you had a bunch of people coming in saying Bob proved drift. You're going to get a whole wave of globe heads coming into Nathan's show and getting their heads crushed because of this. So it's going to be good for Nathan.
Well, there we go. There's the positive to the dielectric.
But everyone agrees. Like, they talk about, like, electrostatics, and they give examples, and the moment anyone asks, like this morning, does that have to do with why things are oriented the way they are, like, rocks mostly under my feet and et cetera, and they're like, oh no. And it's like, okay, so no downward bias. No. Oh, okay.
Then
So
who
it's
cares? It's like talking about clairvoyance, talking about psychics, talking about ghosts, talking about Bigfoot, talking about aliens. Who cares? If they're not asserting downward bias anymore, right? Hold on. If they're not asserting a downward bias, this is not on topic, and I couldn't care less.
Well, last night Bob was on Brandon's show, and I caught it. And Mark Collar gave me a link, and I joined, but I joined just at the very end of the show. So it ended up going into the after show, and when I went in there, it was just mayhem. There was no way to talk to Bob. He mentioned something about a video. This is the only thing I wanted to ask him about. He mentioned something about a video. I heard him mention this before. A video that shows it's a 0G video, with the 0G plane. And he said that, I can't remember what he said that happens with the plane, but the density, they have a density tower in the video, and the density tower rearranges the opposite way. This is what was the claim. Now, I don't know. I've messaged Bob and asked him to send me that video, because they have a show tonight on this topic on Globebusters, so people should watch that. But I don't know what this is about. Supposedly the most dense went to the top, and it orientated itself the completely opposite way. This is what Bob says from the normal. Now, I don't know. I haven't seen the video, so I don't know. But
And what does that prove?
I don't know. I haven't seen the video, so I don't know what. I'd have to see it and then determine what's going on.
No, I know, but let's say it happened.
Yeah.
Let's say the plane is
Well, he said just when you the correct response to your question is what Bob said was that he said it disproved relative density, and it proved that there has to be a downward bias.
Is it bollocks? Ultimately, it still comes
back off
back
your
to
mic.
where do we see this in real world?
Just turn your line down. Turn your line down, please. I can't control you in the Hangout. Volume-wise, you're 10 times louder
sorry.
than everybody.
Is that better?
Yes. Thank you.
So I can shout now then, can I?
Do
Does
what
it
you like now.
bollocks? Where do we see it in the real world?
You can do what you like.
I
It's the
could
same volume
shout.
as
You
everyone
want
else.
me to shout?
No, please don't.
No, you always shout, you girl.
Well, look at Arwin just
Because
sneaking
when
in
I'm in the
before the
right, I'm in
intro.
the right.
Sneaky Arwin.
Oh, here he is. Shh, shh, shh. He's here.
He's here now. Shush.
He won't get the
What?
humour. Oh, he does. He gets it.
No. Don't worry. You all miss
Sometimes
the fun
Arwin misses our humour and sarcasm. He thinks that we're being insulting and rude, and we're
Oh,
not.
that's a great entry.
No,
Thanks.
you guys missed the pun earlier in the pre-show. When this argument comes again by us, it won't get by us.
Nothing gets by us.
Oh.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Sleeping Warrior, 10th Man, Father of a Stolen Child, Neil, Brian's Logic, Eli, Arwin, 10th Man, the Adam Meakin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Hey, good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
everyone.
Hey, hey, hey. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Who bit their lip there? Who bit their lip?
Any evidence of a downward bias?
I think there's evidence of an upward bias because helium balloons go up and they're attracted to the firmament, and it only pulls, it's a very, very weak force, and it only pulls things like helium, hydrogen, helium balloons, eggs in pint glasses. The firmament's attractive force is obvious.
Hey, how about tea? My tea I made this morning pulls the steam.
Yeah, a firmament pulls steam as well. Yeah, it's definitely there. I can see it. I can feel it. I just know it's there. It's so obvious. Steam rises. Come on.
Any scientific evidence of gravity? Do we need reminding
No,
what
I can
gravity
just-
is? Hello?
What is it?
No, I can just assert that it's there because we see some things go up and it's very weak and but it's
What?
obviously there. I can feel it.
What? What is there?
My upward
is it?
bias. My upward bias.
No, that's a bias is something subjective. It is what your consciousness does with things. I'm asking
No, we
what is
definitely-
Yeah,
gravity?
what's the natural phenomena?
Yeah, that's
We
the question.
definitely see an upward bias in the natural world because some things do go up, right? Most things don't go up, but there are things that do. So there must be. That's proof that there is an upward bias.
Okay, enough
Yeah,
sarcasm. No, there is no bias. There's some things go up, some things go down. It's dependent on their medium and their density with relation to their medium. Dependent.
Yeah, but there must be something that's influencing Nathan because it can't just do it.
Don't forget about the floaty bias. It's got to be a floaty bias too.
Yeah, the one that doesn't like the one that sits on the fence and doesn't like to commit.
Yep. There you go.
I don't know where I'm going to sit. I might sit between that density. I might not want to. I might want to be less dense today. It's a bit like the rebellious particles of gas. Any evidence? Any evidence of gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No. Can't have any violations of the dual expansion of gas law. Gas will always expand into the vacuum or into the available volume. It's called dual expansion.
Yeah, that expansion's described with entropy.
Yeah, I just like to give the scientific phrase because, like, I found it recently, and I just thought it sounds better than saying, "How do you have gas pressure without a container?" It sounds a little bit like common, so I thought let's just ramp it up a little bit. Show us a violation of the dual expansion law. That's a better way to word it if you want to be a little bit more scientific.
Not science. Descriptions aren't science. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics. Viable hypotheses, actual science.
I did say a little bit more.
Nothing.
Not necessarily scientific.
Yeah, I know. You're bordering on swiping that magic trick to lend credence to your own assertions. I'm not going to say nonsense, but assertions in this instance. And it's been done for you. That's why they called natural laws scientific laws. Because when you're describing something accurately, never to be inviolable, never to be disproven, as a description, and you call that science, it means that when you call mathematics science, people nod. Well, it's not science, neither is. Laws of nature are just descriptions. Accurate descriptions, but that doesn't make them science.
So if I ask, are there any violations of the dual expansion of gas law? Is there anything wrong with that?
No.
Well, there we go then. That's scientific.
That doesn't make it bloody scientific. It's not a cause and effect relationship that's been validated by systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis that's a scientific prediction with an independent, dependent variables, control variables, and a null. Based on natural phenomena that you've observed. Well, you're not going to formulate this law of nature into that. It's merely a description. Not science.
I love the way you word that, Nathan, because when your show finishes at 3 in like 50 minutes time, I've got a premiere on. So make sure you go to my channel and check it out because it deals directly with a little bit of application of scientific method. And it's about somebody making claims to do with a downward bias that I heard rumors about last night. So do check that out. Bang on, like 55 minutes from now, it's going to be on my channel. It's going to be brilliant, guys.
Got a mod status in this channel, 1980 channel, so just stick the link in. Make sure you subscribe to Anthony Riley's new channel, which is called Sleeping Warrior, I believe.
Ew.
Check him out. Spam the link so people can know where to go.
I lost all my friends recently. I feel very lonely out here on my own.
Got your channel back. That's what's up. Or did you
No, I
open
had
a new
to start
one?
again.
What the hell?
It's like getting your channel back because it looks
the
the same.
trolls
It
mad
feels-
at you, man.
Does that definitely mean Ranty's beating you on subs now then?
I'm hoping somebody buys me some. If there's anybody out there that wants to buy me some subs, can someone sort that out for me?
Don't even hint at it.
1,000 would be good because like that'll get me over that. Because I can't do community posts until I get to 1,000.
No, you want real people to actually post to. It just bugs me. If you haven't got real subscribers, how are you supposed to gauge your own statistics? And the answer is you can't. So you need real subs. Why do you think every show I say, if you haven't done already, subscribe? In other words, if someone's like, oh, he really wants to grow his subscription base, I'll create a new account and subscribe. No, don't do that. I just want you as an individual, if one account is what you've got, you don't need to create more accounts. Certainly don't buy them if you're a YouTuber because you can't gauge your own statistics then. It's just crazy.
Don't listen to Nathan. He's talking rubbish. I'm fickle. Just buy some subs for me. It's fine.
No, I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
Impossible to measure to an intangible object.
Do have a claim distance based on the R value, though. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius? Get that there 93 million mile distance based on assumptions of Venus being the same presupposed radius value as Earth and it being a spherical rock in a sky vacuum.
You know how they just assume R? They also assume a gravitational constant or gravitational field, and they assume that Earth curves. They also assume that there's a downward bias that's being renamed into something else, and it's like, we don't really see that, dude. It's an upward bias. We see that.
Eagle Plane and Anchor asks if you are mocking Globebusters, Tony.
No, not Globebusters. I'm mocking the perception of a downward bias that's being touted as though it's fact and it's obvious and it's observable and testable and all these things. It's so obvious to some people, but when you look into it, it's not there, is it? I mean, just check out my video in like 50 minutes time. It's brilliant.
Put a link in the chat. Doesn't look like it to me.
I do
I've just
recall.
done it, Nathan.
Thank you, Adam. Supporting Anthony and his new channel and its growth that's so important at these early stages. Thank you, Adam.
Come back, subs. Come back.
Maybe if you put a link with your name next to it, that might help you somewhat. But I won't suggest it a seventh time. I think you've you either got the
I'll just
point or
spam
not.
it a little bit in chat. I'll spam it. It's okay.
Thank you, Adam.
I've done it twice for you. Not that you're in a row.
Oh, thanks. Do you know, I've not actually got the thing. I'll open the window and say hello in chat. It'll fix everything.
While you're doing that, any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? That's the claim we spin.
Shout out to the latest subscriber, the Adam Meakin. Thanks for the sub, Adam.
Pleasure. I heard about this channel on Nathan Oakley's today, so I thought I'd sub and join.
Well, that's axial.
Oh, well
The
done.
best axial rotation answer I've heard.
Well, I looked into how they built the Burj Khalifa, which is at the present the tallest building in the world. And the biggest problem they had building that wasn't anything to do, it doesn't even have a damper system. The way it's built, it's its own damper system. But it doesn't really have to even worry about the ground underneath it moving at all, because the biggest problem they had was wind. So the biggest problem they have with very large, high buildings is wind.
See, there's a good question about that. Wind is high pressure going to low pressure, right? Why does wind only ever go in that one direction? Oh shit, it doesn't, does it? It fluctuates and varies. And what's that based on? Pressure, temperature, variety of things. But it never goes the upwards direction, does it, towards the clouds? It always goes laterally. Wouldn't you think that if there was a massive magnitude or differential from the Earth relative to the vacuum of space, that all directions would be towards space because that's where the differential is? Why is it only lateral? Oh, hang on. We don't get lateral displacement, do we? We only get up and down. Shit, so how do we explain wind?
We're in a dynamic system, but that system must be closed in order to achieve gas pressure in the first instance. So it's all well and good you discussing gas pressure differentials and cycles that cause wind, turbulence, whatever. Well, to achieve the gas pressure differential, you first got to have gas pressure. And if the sky was a vacuum, then we'd never achieve gas pressure in the first instance.
Shout out to Dieball74, my latest new sub. Woo!
Okay. Maybe run a little telethon.
I'm going to shamelessly plug anyone that subs on this show just to be disruptive. So now's the time to troll indirectly through me.
Yeah, don't do that.
Better check your subs.
What?
Blank chocolate.
I've only got the notify from Dieball74, so if other people have done it, I've not got it yet. It's coming through. Must be stuck in traffic.
That's by no means least. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of said presupposed spherical Earth, discussed earlier?
Shout out to Del West Watson.
Hell no.
Total fantasy.
That concludes.
So what you're asking
housekeeping.
us, Nathan, is there any evidence of a reverse? God, I'm not forgetting about it. Sorry.
Thea? Reversing Thea?
No, what's the things they put on the bicycle to make a dynamo? That's the claim. It's a reverse dynamo.
Yeah,
Where
right.
electricity
Reverse dynamo.
creates magnetism, not magnetism creating electricity. The inner solid and outer inner liquid core. reverse dynamo.
Yes, hence self-perpetuating in the question.
Yeah, that part's a bit tricky, as the solid inner core, if I remember correctly, rotates east to west, whereas the globe Earth goes west to east. So it goes against the rotation of the globe. There's no explanation as to how it gets going or keeps going that I'm aware of. I couldn't find one anyway. So
It's slowing down.
yeah,
Still
that was why I did read that.
Is it still presupposed to go west to east? Did you say it goes west to east?
The inner solid core goes east to west, goes west to east, yeah, and east to west, the opposite from the globe itself.
East
So
to
it's
west,
spinning
opposite
the
to
opposite
the rotation.
way. Yeah,
So
the opposite way from the
it's
globe.
fighting against the rotation that Earth's claimed to be performing as it hurtles around the sun in the heliocentric model, right? So is that presupposed molten solid core that's going in the opposite direction, is it still going east to west if you're in the presupposed southern hemisphere?
Well, yeah, it still is going east to west.
But if you transpose that onto a claim that the globe heads make, even some non-globe heads like John Le Bon still make this claim. They say it goes the opposite direction in the southern hemisphere when you beg the question. But if your molten iron core, when you're begging the question, still goes the same direction regardless of where you are, why would it be asserted that the stars that all rise in the east and travel to the west by our vantage, why would it be asserted that they go in opposite directions when you beg the question of being underneath where you began if you travel south? People are stupid.
Because people are looking at them from a different angle.
Well, clockwise, counterclockwise is relative to which way you're looking, whereas west to east, or east to west in this example, isn't, right? That's a direction that you can qualify regardless of which way you're facing.
Yep, that's true.
Right.
Well, that's the thing with dynamos. You never know what they're doing.
Well, the thing about it is that what they're describing, it's funny, we were just talking about it and we've been talking about it recently. What they're actually describing with this opposite rotation of the inner solid core is actually a damper. So technically that should stop. That should, like, basically it should stop the movement of the outer shell, the outer Earth, globe Earth. If it's moving in the opposite direction, it should technically stop it. Now, John did say that the claim is that it's slowing down, but it should stop it, because that's what damper systems do. So the globe Earth has basically a damper system.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'd just extend the timeline in terms of the scales and say, well, it is slowing down. And in 15 million years from now, it'll have stopped.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be some humans around to see it.
Like, if I can give a valid explanation for why something that doesn't exist could exist, does that mean that that thing then exists?
Let's hope so. Can you do that with unicorns? My kid loves them.
I can try, but you'll have to presuppose they exist first.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so unicorns already exist. What the hell do I need you for? Get lost.
Well, that was the trick.
Oh, that was it, was it? So I've just got to automatically assume that the thing that you're trying to prove is automatically real, and then you can just say anything you like after that. So long as I presuppose unicorns are real, you can now talk about the quantity of food they eat, and it'll make it a proof. Excellent. Well, this works a charm. I take it all back. You don't have to get lost.
I'm here to help.
Thank you very much. I'll let my kid know. Come here, Eleanor. Just presuppose they exist.
Yeah, my kids are like that with Bigfoot. No matter how much I try to make them not worry about Bigfoot getting them in the woods, they can always find a reason for why Bigfoot has not been found.
I have evidence for the iron core, not the molten iron core, just the iron core. It's in Master B.
Okay, let's have a little looky. Some sort of tesseract or something. What is it?
You never seen the movie Event Horizon?
Oh, is that from Event Horizon?
Yep.
Oh,
That was
okay.
that gravity core that they had in the ship.
Well, they're making a black hole, aren't they?
Yep.
That's from Event Horizon.
Yeah, that's where the
a long
gravity
time.
comes from, man.
It's got Samuel L. Jackson in it, hasn't it?
Nah, that's with Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, my bad. I meant Lawrence Fishburne. Boom, boom.
Yep. I mean, why not, man? This could be evidence for something.
Actually, Event Horizon wasn't a bad horror flick. It wasn't terrible.
No, that was good.
It wasn't one of my favorites, to be honest. Even
it
though
wasn't awful. It wasn't awful.
Obviously, all up in the second law of thermodynamics violation, but back in the day, when I was a kid, that shit was great.
I think what you said, Samuel L. Jackson, Nathan, was because Sam Neill is in it. So the word Sam Neill is the bad guy in it.
No, somebody mistook Samuel L. Jackson. A news reporter was interviewing him live and credited him for something that Lawrence Fishburne had done. And he's like, I'm not Lawrence Fishburne.
All right.
I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, Event Horizon. Yeah. All that sort of stuff I can't watch anymore. I've got it. I've got Event Horizon on my hard drive. But would I sit and watch it? Probably not. Unless I was, prepared to annoy anybody else who's in the room sat watching it with me for the entirety of the movie, as I fail to suspend disbelief enough to get into the movie again.
That's exactly what happened to me this over the weekend when was it over the weekend? It was a couple of days ago. And I watched Space Movie, which is an animation, and it was like so many things I had to not know in order to attempt to appreciate the movie, but even still, it was hard to watch.
That's it. If you're under the misapprehension that you're on a sphere, you don't even consciously have to suspend disbelief. It's not like you stood on a theatre stage watching them perform and saying, okay, I know they're actors, but let's get into the plot. You don't even have to do that stage because you're unconsciously suspending disbelief anyway. So when you watch, for example, Superman flying around a sphere Earth, you're only suspending disbelief on a conscious level that Superman exists. One level of suspension, which is enough. You can do it. Or I used to be able to do it. Whereas when you know what we know, the Earth is obviously inobservably flat, there's no Earth curve, there's presuppositional space and R values to get the world under this paradigm that they know what the heavens are, i.e. the sky, it's a vacuum in their paradigm. Well, when you've got all of that going on, and then you see Superman flying around a CGI sphere Earth, you can't get into it. You're like, none of this it's too far. You have a little cognitive snap. You can't suspend disbelief anymore, and therefore you can't watch the movie, or I can't, or not Chocolate Eli saying he couldn't watch the movie either, right? Because you can't suspend disbelief that much. It's too much.
Well, nothing that stopped me watching Superman. I just want to throw that out there. But I understand. I don't let the globe Earth nonsense stop me from enjoying movies.
Yeah, but there's that second of like, oh my god, he's just flying from like 14 psi to like 10 to the negative 70 tour in like 2 minutes, and it's like,
yeah, but he
went out there, but the air is just hanging out. It's crazy.
But for me, when I'm watching, Space Show or Space Movie, I think it was called Space Show. And I mean, there are afterburners. There's like, it's seemingly like an equilibrium where everyone knows what direction that they're. Yeah, it was just too much,
Man, I get like that with Peppa Pig, when Daddy Pig's telling Peppa that space is real. I'm like tutting and sighing. My kid's just like, yeah, it's all right, Dad. And I'm like, no, it isn't.
That's funny. She's like, relax. It's okay.
Relax, it's Peppa Pig. Yeah, but he's talking nonsense.
Peppa Pig.
I wanted to speak up during the housekeeping questions, but I wasn't able to because I was busy. Can I bring something up?
Feel free, Eric. Go ahead.
So when you guys were asking about evidence of gravity, I was in here chatting late night with a baller, and I was like just like talking with him back and forth, and he was claiming that the moon caused the tides, and then I was asking him for evidence of gravity, and then we got to the point where I'm saying like a helium balloon goes up, and his evidence for gravity at that point was to give me a math equation for buoyancy that includes gravity. And I just tapped out from there. I was too tired. But so I think Chocolate said that about what about a helium balloon going up? Well, Chocolate, how about this this math formula here? What do you have to say to that?
show me how this math formula creates what they're calling gravity as the helium balloon is going up. Show me the equation as I'm holding the balloon trying to go up in my hand. That'd be nice.
Well, that's valid, Chocolate, but just based on the information you've given me thus far, you're talking about the moon and Earth with gravity as a describer for the force between the two causing the tides in a rhetoric that's now 106 years out of date. Because if you're saying he's given you some maths for it, it certainly won't be Einsteinian maths, because that's a two-body problem it can't solve in the field equations. You can only solve for one mass. Therefore, you can't calculate that moon causing a force on a second body, because you can't calculate for it with Einsteinian maths. So automatically he's into, if he's presented you maths, 106 years out of date maths. That would be where I'd start. Hold on, you're saying the moon attracts the tides from the Earth. Okay, let's see that in Einsteinian mathematics. Oh, what's that? You say you can't do it? Yeah, we know.
Well, my thinking was as well on top of that.
Sorry, I'll talk after you there. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So when he presented me that, I was feeling like he was also like contradicting what he was presenting, because the density of water is way more dense than the air. So the buoyancy formula wouldn't make any sense, because the moon's attracting the water through the air in his like rhetoric, right? But the balloon's going up against the density of the air. Like it's like the opposite of what he's claiming. You know, I don't know if I can explain it, but I'm trying like it's the balloon's floating and coming up because of the gravity in the formula. It's going up with the like including the formula in his mind, but then also the water is violating that formula by coming toward the. I don't know. Can you guys understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So
describing buoyancy, and he's having a force that's pulling the gas around the helium down to force it up. Well, that requires gas go down, go boom, boom. So the gas around the helium balloon's pushing down to force the balloon up. So you've got the gravity force on the gas pulling it down as a homogeneous layer that's more dense than the helium in that description with gravity. Well, that means gas go down, go boom, boom, like solid bonded bouncy balls, does it? No, gas doesn't behave like that, unfortunately. So no, gas is not going down, go boom, boom to form a homogeneous layer that's more dense than the helium to force it up. Gas is expanding in all directions, regardless of what gas it is. So no, that's not a valid explanation, regardless of what maths they might provide. Would definitely be 106 years out of date. I'll just add that on again.
I think the best
thing to
ask.
Now I'm thinking again is that he is claiming the moon's pulling the water. So couldn't you just claim that the moon's pulling the balloon up too? It's just so stupid. I don't even know where to begin.
Your best
I suppose they could.
Your best
you
defense.
could.
Go on, Nathan. I'll go after you.
Well, no, I'm just agreeing with him. You can say whatever you like. It's a model, right? It's a fantasy world that you can do anything you like in. You can have molten iron cores go in the opposite direction to a claimed spin we don't experience with Coriolis effect. You can have gas that doesn't expand into vast areas of space in line with entropy. You can do whatever you like. It's just a model. The heliocentric world, the sphere Earth, isn't real. It's just a model. Eli, you're causing a load of chaos.
So why can you? Sorry.
All right, just wait on mute till you actually talk. Otherwise, I have to mute the line because of the chaos it causes.
No, I was attempting to talk, but there's a lot of reverb.
Yeah, I can hear it. Try again. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, shouldn't the clouds, like, why are there any clouds? Like, why does it have to be a cloudy night when the moon is overhead?
Yeah, right. I love the imagination of this battle that's going on between the 1/6 gravity of the moon and the gravity of the Earth battling, while the Earth's gravity is able to hold all this water to the outside of this ball, but the little tiny little 1/6 gravity from the moon is able to come through that ridiculous force that holds all the water and manipulate all the water on the Earth. Well, it goes through all the air to do it. Oh, I mean, this is a great freaking story right here, man. It's great shit.
just by extension, think about the moon. Think about the moon in the context of the Earth, right? They say that the Earth's pulling on the moon and the moon's pulling on the Earth. Only a little bit, but they're both pulling on each other, right? But we don't see them being pulled together. If anything, they say that the moon's being pushed further away by, is it a couple of inches a year or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Well, what's the other force that's stopping it from being pulled in? Because there's supposed to be a force pulling. There's two like additional forces like acting on each other, pulling towards each other because mass attracts mass. What's stopping that from happening? Because I don't know.
Maybe the moon's buoyant.
It's not happening, right? It's not happening. The moon isn't falling around us. We're not falling around the sun. This is only a description in a model called the heliocentric model. So why are we trying to explain away why this happens when it doesn't happen?
I want my gravity
Can I
back,
say what?
man. Sorry, Brian.
Go on, Brian.
Sorry, chocolate. No, I don't want to ruin chocolate's gravity battle. I don't want to be that boy. But to the lad who's actually, sorry, to the lad who's talking there, what I was going to say to him at the start is when someone comes up with that gravity stuff to you, right, best thing to ask them, especially when they send you equations, just say, how will that cause gravitational lensing? And that'll be the end of that. Because that's gravitational lensing. It's pure 4D Einsteinian. They can't go anywhere with that. That's the end of that. Just send it straight back to them. Bring us right back to their own nonsense, which is gravitational lensing. Ask them how that causes gravitational lensing. They won't have anything.
Can you tell me what that means?
Explanation altogether.
What does that mean?
It means that when you learn about space-time and Einsteinian nonsense, when you actually do learn about it, it's not even that difficult to learn the basics of it. You'll see that all this nonsense they're talking about concerning a force of gravity and attraction between the masses and all this nonsense, was really thrown out 106 years ago. So when you ask them, explain gravitational lensing with that equation, they won't be able to do it. Because a lot of them won't even know how the explanation for gravitational lensing, which is the curvature of space-time.
Okay, he's asking you what is gravitational lensing, and what you're telling him is the reason you'd ask about it isn't because you need to know what it is, and feel free to look it up. It's because the description of gravitational lensing is specifically described in length, breadth, depth, and time. That would be pseudo-Riemannian four-space geometry, Einsteinian geometry. So when it comes to things attracting other things like moon and tides, you can ask them how it would affect something that doesn't matter whatever concept is in Einsteinian descriptions, in this case lensing, gravitational. You can ask them, how is that described in four space, or how is that described with Einsteinian? The reason Brian's suggesting you do that is because it's been superseded by Einsteinian. That's the current rhetoric, and whenever they invoke a force, as is being done in the question you're being asked, and then presented with maths to explain it, because it's not something that we actually experience in reality anyway. But when you do that, or when that is done to you, moreover, you can just put it straight back into their court with the current rhetoric, i.e., how does this get described in pseudo-4 space? How is this described with the Einsteinian field equations? How would this affect gravitational lensing? All you're doing is you're taking it away from the 106-year out-of-date, dusty old and busted of forces, and taking it into the conceptual pseudo force space that's current, which it's not a force. So all it is understanding where they're using forces which is out of date and where their current rhetoric doesn't have any, and then asking them to describe their force in this non-force geometry that's current. In other words, take them out of the Newtonian, put them back into the current Einsteinian. That's what Brian's saying. You're thinking, I just wanted to know what lensing was.
That myself too. I gotta look into that myself too, just to like understand it. Like
if you go online and just look for Einstein's theory of general or just relativity explained, general relativity explained. There's plenty of videos that are only 10, 12, 14 minutes long that will give you a brief explanation of the basics of it. You don't need to have you don't need to at the start learn loads about it. Just learn the basics of it, and you will soon see how the nonsense they speak about has actually no connection to Einsteinian, because most of them they'll throw out the word. They throw out the word. Sorry, Eli, just want to finish off this part. They throw out the word relativity. You'll find some of the ballers will throw out the word relativity, and then they'll claim a force of attraction between masses. That tells you they don't know what they're talking about. You can just get some basic knowledge on relativity, and you'll defeat 80% of them with that alone.
Yeah, I do know a little bit about that.
Like there's an explanation.
Hold on, Eli. Go ahead, Eric, and then we'll get Eli after. Go ahead.
I have looked into it a little bit. Like I've seen where they show like a big ball bending the gridded pattern and all that stuff, and then they show like someone will put a. It's funny because they do that thing where they put a ball on a piece of like fabric, and then they put another ball in it and it attracts it to it. Is that the relativity theory? Because
that's the
reification
of bending space-time.
That's a literal reification fallacy right there. Using something that's actually concrete or fabric to represent something that's non-existent. It's hilarious.
That's actually a false equivalency, that thing where they put the balls onto a big sheet. That's not actually how it works. So ignore that. When you see that, ignore it. That's not correct.
That's also
anyone who knows about it. Sorry, Nathan, go on.
No, I'm agreeing with you. The bending of the conceptual medium known as pseudo-Riemannian force space is not the same as the reification fallacy when someone misinterprets that description in Einsteinian mechanics and turns it into a piece of fabric that they stretch out and then roll balls around on. Number one, that is not a comparison that is fair with the description in Einsteinian force space. And number two, it is just a thicko's reification fallacy.
So when you see lights in the sky, right? And in the heliocentric model, it's claimed that you shouldn't see it, quote unquote, by the positioning of the sun. Therefore, it's the sun's gravity that's actually pulling the light to your eye from beyond what you should see. Are you saying that that's not possible because the sun doesn't actually have a gravitational pull?
Sorry, are you trying to explain why we don't have gravitational lensing now? Way to go way into that begging the question fallacy to try and pick it from within. Fair play to you. But yeah, your conclusion's correct. If we don't have the thing that's being described in the first instance, that's gravity, then we don't need to explain this problem away with gravitational lensing now, do we, Eli?
Eli, are you asking? Is there no force of attraction, gravitational attraction to the sun? Because that would be correct. There isn't.
Okay.
There isn't. Kepler's analemma that they explain by the force of gravity, as how that was the most people explain that as the globe Earth is being brought around that, and it moves fastest past that when it's closest to it, brought around the sun, and it moves fastest past the sun when it's closest to it in its elliptical orbit. That's all explained through a force of gravity, but gravity is not a force, so they can only explain now how it goes around it. through the bending of space-time, but they can't explain the differential in speeds and whatever else, or rates.
But can you explain it with incoherent dielectric acceleration now, Brian?
Yeah, no. It's a headbender.
So yeah, Event Horizon was a great movie, in my opinion.
I agree.
I thought Sandra Bullock in Gravity was way better.
Gets used quite a lot by NASA debunkers. Not that we do a great deal of that here. We just say space isn't real, violation of natural law. But for the people that are actually pulling apart the CGI nonsense, they'll often show you how the high wire for gravity was done. How they superimpose ceilings on half pipes that are connecting different rooms, but there's no ceiling between them. So obviously they can move the high wires between them. Then they just CGI in a ceiling after the fact, and you've got a floating Sandra Bullock. Precisely how they do it on the ISS.
Well,
or on high wire.
Don't forget the newest member to the team, the Fly on the Mars rover.
Fly? What you, I don't know. This is, it's like the mouse in space and various other things.
Yeah, I made a good pun out of it. I said it was named after Buzz Aldrin.
Very good.
Buzz Aldrin.
Good one, Kent.
Half the time, I think they leave them in. So you can argue all day about whether or not it's possible to have a fly that's survived as it's travelled through the sky vacuum and landed on Mars. No one's landing on a light in the sky called Mars. The sky is not a vacuum. You can't travel through a non-existent region to get to a light in the sky presumed to be a rock called Mars. None of that is real. If any of that was real,
not even the rodent.
As long as I whistle past the graveyard to say that you shouldn't discriminate against insect space travel.
Can't have insect
But
space
what
travel.
about the poor Arctic lemming that's still on Mars? Nobody remembered.
While everyone's
guy.
arguing about whether or not you can have rats in space, rodents in space, or flies on Mars, right? The journey that took place for that claim to even start is fake. Because if it was real, we'd all be dead. The gas we're breathing would have expanded into the sky vacuum and none of us would be breathing. So it's automatically bunk. You don't need to argue about whether or not there's flies. Do you want to know why there's a fly in there without even seeing it? Because it was filmed here on Earth and there's flies here. Wherever they filmed it, there was flies. That's why there's a fly in it.
No. You're missing the whole argument. The argument is when the fly comes back, his lifespan normally is 15 to 30 days, but because of space time and warping, he's going to be 100 years old.
You're mixing up space with Narnia. I know we do make that comparison, but that time dilation problem only occurs with the wardrobe, not with the second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. I think you're getting the two confused.
But what if we use the iron core from Event Horizon to create a wormhole? Then we don't have to worry about time. There you go. See?
Who needs a closet when you got that thing?
There's always the danger that the red dwarf crew will create a white hole and it'll spew time back into existence, so you still have to worry about it.
Where's Ripley when you need her?
I'm moved away 10 minutes. Is everybody on acid or something? What's going on?
And we.
Wait a minute. You're the one who posted the fly picture, Adam.
Yeah. It's everybody on acid.
He posts the fly picture and says we're on acid.
Yeah. It's. I think I addressed the same point last time. My point was it's basically don't attack that. Just attack where did the supposed bit of kit and fly travel through to get to where they are to get the pictures? That's what I'd stick with.
What if it was the fly that piloted the aircraft?
Right. Adam's question, is anybody going to answer? It's not rhetorical.
Ask it again, Adam, please.
What was the thing between here and there where the filming took place that they travelled through? What was this supposed medium they travelled through to get there to film a fly on Mars?
Vacuum of space.
It's not.
It saves you trouble, you see. Saves you trouble, they Bryce. That's where it all turns to poo, doesn't it? Fly poo.
It was my upward bias that they flew through.
Unless.
The downward
But the one
bias.
thing you guys are missing is the one thing you guys are missing is the magic speed. That's what makes it all possible.
Bro. You got it, bro. The magic speed.
Yeah, having a magic speed doesn't change the fact that if the gas we breathe was next to a vacuum, as claimed in the heliocentric model, it would fill it. It would vacate. We wouldn't have any gas. We'd all be dead. The sky is not a vacuum. They're not travelling through a vacuum to get to Mars. Mars is not a rock. They've assumed its size and then travelled on it based on presuppositions of Earth being a rock with an R value that they can't get anymore. None of their maths makes any sense. None of the distances make any sense. They're just lights in the sky. Not travelling to them, because the claim that we can comes with a violation of natural law, which is to say that we'd have to travel through a vacuum to get there.
Has anybody seen that video that NASA released showing like a twin propeller helicopter? I think it's supposed to be the one that's actually on Mars. And they put it in what they said was a 5% atmospheric vacuum chamber, basically representing what they say is on Mars. And they showed it flying.
With a
and
rope.
I'm looking at that going, that ain't going to fly in there, guys. But you'd have to have it.
Is that the one they
95%
attached with the rope?
Oh yeah, and the parachute. Like, I honestly think that I think NASA. I swear to God, I'm sure they're trolling the ball Earthers to see how stupid and gullible they are.
Replicate the conditions they
Is
say
it reasonable
the light,
that
to represent
5% of the atmosphere sticks to a smaller ball in space then?
Sorry, before we get to this,
Yes,
the ball in space called Mars is claimed to have this pressure, right? Well, how did they achieve it? Did they have a big, massive container?
Yeah.
So to even have this lower pressure, comparable to Mars, they had to have it contained.
Yeah.
Mars in the heliocentric model contained, as per their example.
No.
So that gas that's on Mars claimed to be a rock in a sky vacuum would dissipate also into the sky vacuum. There'd be no pressure.
Yeah, dual expansion of gas would always make sure that would always happen. There are no exceptions to it.
You don't reckon Mars is one of those open-close systems again, do you?
Well, I'm going to qualify that. So have we all seen Total Recall? Preferably the Arnold Schwarzenegger version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In a while.
Well, there's a part of the film where they shoot at each other and break the glass on the dome on Mars. What happens? The high pressure inside the dome immediately vacates outside and dissipates into the vacuum, never to be seen again. Yeah? So they've got a dome with pressure, sky vacuum, and the gas expands and leaves, vacates, high pressure to low pressure, as you'd expect with entropy. Later on in the movie, he goes to some reactor, turns it on, gas pumps out, and it just stays there. It doesn't fill the vacuum. It just hangs around on the surface for no apparent reason, and apparently above it there's a vacuum still, but the gas isn't, it's just decided it's going to stay there. Obviously that's a Hollywood movie, but it's also the description of Mars in reality. The second description, not the first description where you'd need a dome to keep the gas there. In the second description, you just have a huge amount of gas produced by a reactor, and then it defies the laws of nature. Just stays there because you've got enough of it. So if you have enough gas, you'll defy the second law of thermodynamics? No. Not at all. The gas that's produced by the reactor in the movie would just fill the space exactly the same as the gas in the dome.
Maybe that's why one of my coworkers is so avid on, like, there's just enough pressure being created here that we don't feel the pressure leaving this open system because of shit like that, like you just described.
But it's not. But we're not experiencing an open system. We're experiencing cycles, which means we must be contained. It's not going up and then just dissipating into the sky vacuum at a rate that entropy would be conducive with, only for vast amounts more to be produced at ground level. It's cycling. Well, for it to be in a cycle, we've got to be contained.
No, hey, I get that. What I'm saying is, I know somebody who's trying to explain it to themselves in that exact same way.
Me too.
You know what I mean? Like the way you described it from Total Recall, like, oh, we just have enough, so we could just breathe, and you know, it could dissipate into space, and it'll just stay here because we have enough being produced. Not understanding, you won't have any pressure at all if you have no container,
Exactly.
and she won't understand that. It's like she
Been
thinks
more-
it's
be
just
called
gas
the
just
gas.
shooting out of the floor.
Be called a gas route, though, wouldn't it, as opposed to a gas cycle? Then it'd be the route straight from the planet out off into space.
Right. Right.
What we do observe. That
You could even call it. You could even call it the path of least resistance.
Sounds like
Bit
it.
like
If you like.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
I just find it astonishing that ball earthers will argue hurricanes and argue that that's caused by lower pressure and that's why we get the rotation things, and they claim Coriolis for it, but they do accept that hurricanes exist. They see that the pressure drop from like, it's what, 200 millibars, it's about 2 psi, that causes a hurricane. Now that 2 psi drop causes devastation to animals, humans, buildings, rips everything out of the ground, trees, you name it. You've all seen a hurricane, right? And that's just with 2 psi. And they accept that the 2 psi is why it happens, right? Well, why don't they accept that the 14.7 that goes to nothing, sorry, 0.0000, because it is a technically positive pressure, why don't they accept that that should be going the opposite way too? If we see lateral rotation and lateral movement on the ground at just 2 psi, why don't we see it violently burst off into space?
I'll tell you, they've got an answer. Do you want to know the heliocentric answer? Because this natural law doesn't apply to the heliocentric model.
And Bob's your uncle.
It's a shame that so many kids get taught nonsense.
Well,
in
you
school and don't.
mean those same hurricanes that appear to actually rotate from the inertial reference frame above, when we're told that they're caused by a Coriolis effect, which we will only see from the ground, huh? Those same hurricanes?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, hurricanes are demonstrations of actual deflection, though, aren't they? Not apparent deflection.
Yeah, that's from the pen of idiot
Yeah.
chocolate. People who don't understand what Coriolis effect is.
Ah, I see.
Oh, well.
But yeah, Total Recall. Check it out.
I'm going to watch that tonight.
They've got contrasting positions intentionally, right? You know, you need to have a dome to keep the pressure here, but if we release loads of it, it'll stay here because suddenly the laws of nature don't apply. Because he's put 3 fingers together and said Quaid as the rock drops in the movie into the reactor.
There's nothing like the irony of Spaceballs, though, because like the whole thing was that there's an air shortage. Meanwhile, there's a container around the Earth, but they have problems with air. They even keep it in cans, little cans that say Perry Air.
She's going from suck to blow.
She's gone from suck to blow.
Do you know what's funny? We were talking earlier about damper systems. And the Taipei 101 that we spoke about there last week, Nathan, I think it was, the damper system in that you saw, I think, that's mainly for typhoons. Now, that damper system is mainly for, and it's most of what it has to deal with is typhoons, which it had to deal with a big one there a couple of years ago. And the video is online if anyone wants to watch it, of that damper system working within that typhoon, stabilizing the building, right, which was the tallest building in the world until the Burj Khalifa. But this typhoon, right, is claimed by the ball side to be caused by what we know to be Globiolis force. And this Globiolis force is due to a supposed rotation. But the Taipei 101 damper system never has to deal with rotation or movement of the earth underneath it. It has to deal with the typhoon. So there's something wrong with that whole story there. If you go backwards in it, starting with typhoon.
I said I'd look for a picture on Facebook now, see if I can dig back far enough to find a picture of me standing next to that little pendulum-looking thing. Like bright orange or bright yellow, really colourful. They sell these little gift shop toys that are like little men that have got the head that's the same shape as the ball that you see. I don't know how to use Facebook. I'm never going to find it. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll have a quick look before we finish the live show. See if I can find it.
Well, while you're having a quick look at that, wondering if any Globers in there got any comments on the magic speed? does anybody have anything for that?
Do they even know what number that magic speed is?
Well, I said I'm going with 88 because that's the speed that you had to hit for the flux capacitor to send you back in time. So that's what I'm going for. But I mean, maybe a Glober will have something more empirical for us on what Mr. Smoking the Grass Tyson was talking about with magic speeds and shit. Any ball believers got that for us or what?
1.21 gigawatts.
Turns out there's a magic speed. Rovers, what's the magic speed? Which you could just send an asteroid, and no matter what angle you send it at, the impact crater will look like completely circular. Anybody? I need to know the magic speed.
And how did they know? How did they find that out?
Oh, because you just send it. You just send it faster. Because apparently Neil deGrasse Tyson, Smoking the Grass Tyson, in his younger years, used to send asteroids faster to places. Fucking clown, bro. Globers, hello, magic speed.
Oh gosh.
Maybe there's none in there. I'll try again tomorrow.
Well, I'll do a pun on the last topic. I tore the baller hurricane argument apart easily with a twister.
But where were you on the Earth? Because I'd love to know which way the twister went. Was it anti-clockwise or clockwise? Because that'll tell me where you were on the Earth.
The main part of the pun was Tor, T-O-R-R.
Come on, Tony.
Oh.
It'll only tell you which hemisphere you're in.
No, but I can then calculate my angles to the horizon and work out exactly where I am. Who was it that said that? Was it Fight the Flat Earth? I'm sure it was him.
I don't know about you guys, but I just need a swinging pendulum, and I know where I am on the Earth.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
You just all you got to do is follow the figure of 8 pattern it makes.
Yo, I wish that clown would show up here and
That
tell
was
us
fun.
about how a swinging pendulum can tell you your location on Earth. That's almost as bad as the magic speed.
That's the Foucault GPS system.
Imagine being grown and saying some shit like that.
Yeah,
Jeez.
look at that figure 8 pendulum.
Mr. Gas wondering about running off.
I found it.
Yeah, maybe QE, because he has a military background. Maybe he knows how to find out where he is with a swinging pendulum. Surely they were all given a pendulum. Every soldier was given a pendulum, and taught how to use it to find out where they are. Because that would be something that would be a
Are
thing.
you saying QE might have the magic speed?
Well, I don't know about the magic speed, but he might know how to find where he is with a swinging pendulum.
Yeah, but I just don't know which gas particles wander off.
All of them? the only the ones that don't run away, run around. Because he said them both. They wander off and they run around.
Sorry to interrupt. Right, I found a picture of me standing next to this pendulum that's Brian's been talking about. This is the damping counterweight in Taipei 101. So fortunately, I've got somebody who stood next to me who actually took a picture of me so you can get a scale of how big this thing is. And it's several feet behind me, obviously. even bigger than it even appears in this picture, because I'm not stood right next to it, far from it. It's in a big pit. Yeah, and you can see the cables, these rope-looking things are cables all the way around it, and that's what swings in opposition to an earthquake to stop the building from swaying and then shaking itself to pieces. So that sits about 2/3
Why can't I see this?
The building. It's in Ballbusters, and it's on the live stream if you actually want to see it.
Okay.
I've got others.
That's a big pendulum.
It's massive.
So that's there, Nathan, to dampen any movement of the building during an earthquake. So if the earth moves, that dampens it.
Yeah, it swings in the opposite direction. Yes.
Therefore, by definition, the earth is always moving. So that thing would be, those ropes would be twisting, wouldn't they?
That's the point, finally.
Yeah, they'd be
yes.
oscillating, wouldn't they?
Exactly. If we were moving, right, that would start moving.
Yeah, it would.
At all times.
Yeah, precisely. Crack villain. That ball would start moving if we were moving. And then we'd start seeing a not actual deflection in the pendulum motion because Earth would be turning beneath it. Right? No, it's just static until the earthquake comes. Then it starts shaking violently. Again, you can look it up on YouTube to see some videos of it actually moving. There's some videos where people are in there, so they're in there as tourists, and then an earthquake hits, right? And then what are you going to do then? Well, probably in the safest place in the entire country. So don't panic, just take a video and go, woohoo! Glad I'm here.
Well, it looks like it's in the shape of a ball, so it'd be the first one that ever moved.
Plenty of balls move. What are you talking about?
I'm talking rotation.
Okay.
It's actually 18 feet wide in diameter, and it's 650 or 700 plus tons weight, something like that.
That sounds about right.
Very, very heavy. Yeah.
Right, with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, smashed the super chat, commented, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, now that the after show's on, magic speed, Globers? Anyone? I just want to comment. I just want to hear something because I haven't heard one Glober address this nonsense.
Can you reiterate what you just said? Can you reiterate what you said again?
Say again? Oh.
I think he's saying, can you reiterate what you said, as in what you were asking for when you say magic speed? He's referring to Neil deGrasse Tyson's reference to why we only have craters, in quotes, that appear to have had an impact at 90 degrees, like they've come straight onto the surface of the claimed to be rock in the sky called the moon. And his answer is chocolate.
Turns out there's a magic speed that you can send an asteroid, and no matter what angle it hits, it'll look completely circular. How do you feel about that? Whoever said that.
Wow. Wow.
Wow, indeed.
Mate, I don't know, Nathan. I don't know if you've seen this yet. The new superstructures. There's a large amount of superstructures found and discovered by scientists, apparently, in the Earth's core. This is quite interesting. I'll break it down.
Well, you almost made me spit out my drink. the Earth's core.
Oh no, this was quite brilliant. They've
they've
turned
gone down
actually a
8
big
miles
problem
and they
into
went that
somehow
far
a
now?
proof. Wait there. 1 second. I'm just taking my jacket off. It's way too hot.
I almost
So the-
spilled my
so the
whole
Earth-
This is
coffee on
honestly.
myself.
So the, so,
This is
so the Earth's
hilarious.
core is
You
8
wait.
miles now?
You wait for this one, mate. Sorry. Say again, Adam.
We're waiting
that
with
was-
bated breath, my
that
friend.
was-
Yeah. 1 second, guys. Sorry. Oh, I always do this to people. Wait there. Bloody English.
It's alright, I can stick up some tourist shots as I've now found it on Facebook of
Right.
Taipei
So
101.
let me find the article.
Been through these. That's the ball that you just saw in the live show. They're in Master B if you want to check them out. That's the view from the roof, second frame. Amazes me when I look back on it because you're looking down on skyscrapers, which is pretty nuts. Anyway, that's me from the topmost deck beside the building. Oh. Terribly exposed. I didn't take these pictures, obviously, as I'm in them. That's the little dude that I was telling you about. So that's like the tourist attraction that they sell that represents the ball. So you can probably see he's got this giant ass and a giant head with a single cyclops eye. That's their mascot, Taipei 101. Very good stuff. And there's the building itself. In case you didn't know what Taipei 101 looks like, that's what it looks like. There you go. Hopefully I've bought you enough time, Crack Villain.
I thought you were talking about a blood type right there.
Taipei 101?
That's not the way you said it.
I never realised those photos would come in useful in the slightest.
Yeah,
I remember
indeed.
putting out those photos on Facebook and getting like one like. Like, I'm on the world's tallest building looking down over skyscraper. One like. Next post in Facebook at the time, I had bacon and eggs today. 57 likes.
It's very telling.
I couldn't make head nor tail of it. I was like, look, I'm James Bond. People don't like it. You say you're having bacon and eggs for breakfast on a level that people can relate to, then they'll like it a lot. I had bacon too. I like that.
Well, they weren't at the building doing that. So sometimes people don't like that someone else was, in somewhere good, doing something that they maybe like to do. But most people wouldn't even go to Taiwan. So I don't know what the problem is. Not because that moment Taiwan. I'm just saying people will go, I'm going to go to Spain instead. You know what I mean? That's what would happen.
Right. So can you hear me, Nathan?
Yeah.
All right. I didn't think you could hear me. So I'll just start off like this. So basically, scientists have discovered an unexpected and wide spread array of structures near Earth's core. Researchers analyzed thousands of recordings of seismic waves or sound waves traveling through the Earth, basically meaning they record P waves, S waves, and reflection, meaning the oscillation that leaves the Earth via obviously earthquakes. We've had a shit ton recently, so they're really using that to their advantage. But what's funny about this is that they're unexpected structures. Why is that funny? So I'll just explain anyway. So the sound waves traveling through the Earth, and obviously the echoes from the boundary between Earth's molten core and the solid mantle layer above, led to said discovery. Right? This really is actually more of a problem for them, and I don't know how they've twisted this into some sort of proof, because what this really means is that actually, in fact, the Earth's core is changing according to their own data, because these are structures that they previously didn't detect according to their own data. These are unexpected structures that were unexpected in the Earth's core. What, solid structures? Not molten ones, not liquids. Wait a minute.
They said
Does
these
that
are
mean?
in the core or near the core.
Well, I don't know how they.
Like,
Well,
it doesn't
listen. So
matter,
the
but what are
University of
they saying?
Maryland, right? So geophysicists analyzed thousands of recordings of seismic waves, right? So basically, apparently these are just sound waves. I don't really see how they see them as just sound waves. That I feel like that again. Obviously, we know what's happening here, right? This is a different medium. The waves are hitting a different medium than what they were before at the exit point of the oscillational sound that they're receiving on the seismographs, right? And they've identified said echoes from the boundary between Earth's molten core and the solid mantle layer above it. So it's just in between. So what we have here are structures that are just on top of the molten core and in between the mantle above. You know, they've basically revealed these echoes, widespread, heterogeneous structures, areas of unusually dense, hot rock at the core as well, and at the mantle boundary than previously ever known, right? But scientists are unaware of the composition of these structures. Well, I'm glad they at least admit that, because if they were to claim that they said they knew what said structures were made of the very day they found out said structures existed based on faulty data, that would really be a big fuck you to everybody. But previous studies have provided only a limited view of them, apparently. Well, so this isn't a limited view, but you don't know what the structures are made of. But in your limited view before, you told us that the core was made of iron and nickel. So, what are you? They just speaking out of both sides of their mouths for this. Really, this is actually a problem for them, and they've tried to mold it into actually a form of proof. Unfortunately, I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it, and people eat it up and lap it up. Really, what this really says is that all their data has been completely incorrect and inconsistent. And like they said, more limited studies in the past actually never ever limited studies in the past in fact told them exactly what the Earth's core was made of, but somehow they don't know what these structures are in this much more extensive piece of research.
Turns out there's a magic structure in the core. There you go.
Well, it's amazing
Explanation
leap
done.
of technology. They
The seat of the pants?
Oh no, they didn't have any new
The-
technology. Do you want to know that? What,
No,
they used an
I'm sorry,
algorithm that they used in astrology.
No, it's
That's all they did.
Big leap of technology since previously they could only go down 8 miles. Now they went down 3,951 more miles.
No, they didn't. Algorithms, maths.
Yep, they
Presupposition.
used an algorithm.
PNS waves.
So the field of geology are using algorithms in order to do their much more in-depth studies on rocks that they don't know what they're made of, admitting that they are actually not as in-depth, but at the same time, apparently the less in-depth studies were the ones that told us it was iron and nickel.
You're mistaken there. It's not rocks, it's cousins.
Well, they can be thought of as cousins, right?
No, they are cousins.
Oh my god!
Rocco, live in a neighborhood.
That is what they're claiming. So all the material that has ever come to pass was born in the heart of dying stars, blasted out into the universe, and then coalesced into what we now know, and then life as we know it began from those materials. So the building blocks of life, that's inclusive of rocks based on their origin stories. Therefore, we are the distant cousins of rocks in their narrative. As stupid as that sounds.
Oh my god.
Well, what I keep asking all of the Globers, Nathan, is actually the most complex rock known to man in their model is actually the Earth. And I really am starting to wonder what the issue the Earth is having in terms of why it hasn't actually formed its own consciousness yet. It actually boggles. According to their story, the Earth should at least be half a man by now, or halfway toward being a man, or at least a form of ape.
There is a faction, though, isn't there, of sort of a bit like Scientologists, like a segue spur of
Yeah.
heliocentrism that do think that, though, isn't there? You know, there's the Dick Earthers.
Yeah.
Gaia theory.
Well, it's not to be mocked. You know, there are a certain group of people that do actually think the Earth is a giant dick.
Oh my god. I suppose what impregnating the rest of the universe.
Look, I don't profess to be an expert in Dick Earth theory. It's a very difficult theory to swallow.
Yes.
Oh no. That was brilliant. Well done. Well done there, mate. That was good. That's a shame that wasn't a part of the live stream. Oh wow. Very well done. Well, Ball Earth, Dick Earth, they come together quite nicely. Do not separate the two.
Which two? Sorry, I missed the other one.
Well, I just said Ball Earth, Dick Earth. You know, they go together quite nicely, but do not separate the two.
Well, they're subsections. It's like I said, like Scientology is a subsection. You know, the base of the whole principle of it is based around heliocentrism. As weird as that sounds,
Yep.
you know, another one that this will surprise you is also based in a lot of heliocentric principles. Flat Earth Society.
Yep.
You know, you've got a
Of
flat
course.
pizza pie in a sky vacuum with the distant stars. But many of the principles that are utilised in heliocentrism are also applied to the Flat Earth Society. Isn't that weird? What a shock!
Yep.
It's almost like they're a controlled
I agree.
narrative opposition. But there we go. What would I know?
No,
It is a
they're not
little weird,
controlled.
huh? How Brian
Th-
Cox
th-
describes
those-
Einstein as saying the Earth is actually going up to meet the apple.
Yeah, that's what Flat Earth Society say.
yeah.
Precisely. It's
Yeah, Flat
also
Earth Society are in conjunction with the heliocentric model in that
yeah,
they
like
agree upon the
Scientologists.
fact the
Yeah,
Earth is rising
exactly.
up at 9.8 meters per second.
Exactly. It's flying up like Cox says Earth is doing in the heliocentric sphere Earth model. Well, that exact same narrative is punted on the pizza pie that the Flat Earth Society narrative, wouldn't you know?
Yeah, the Flat Earth Society and Einstein both have the same upward bias. It's true. They both have the same upward bias. So I don't know.
Oh, ballers. Why is Einstein saying the Earth is going up to meet the apple? As the apple's just sitting hanging out, doing nothing? What's going on there, buddy?
Magic speed.
The magic speed. Hello. Ballers. I know some of y'all are in there.
Einstein stated that the natural position of all objects is free fall. That it's that, which I can understand that, but that's why he states that the Earth, the surface, comes up to meet the object, as opposed to the object falling to the ground. That because all objects, the natural state of all objects, is free fall position.
I would contend with that, Brian. I would say that effectively that all objects would be floating in space and not necessarily falling in any which direction, and only really locally based on the Earth would there be the state of free fall. What do you think about that?
Well, when you're speaking about, I can't really speak about anywhere. Look, I'll be honest, I can't really, without being smart, I can't really speak about anywhere but the Earth. So I can't make claims about anywhere else. But on the Earth, things go down and up.
But his question was correct based on the principle of relativity. He's saying, well, in terms of your speed or position, that's going to be relative to someone else looking at it in terms of how fast you're going. And if you're just you and you've got no other reference, then you're just floating in space. Correct? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sorry.
Yeah, correct.
What space?
But Brian took that off at the knees by saying exactly what you mean. The place that none of us have ever been to. You want to tell me what happens in that place?
Yeah, let's talk about pseudo force space, somewhere that doesn't exist, because then we can have
That's what I
anything happen.
Fucking space. Like I actually think it's got to be a bit of a sickness to even want to go there. I'm being genuinely honest, right? So this idea that you can go to the most barren,
And things tend to be in
desolate.
a state of free fall like helium balloons.
Now you're just being absurd. Go ahead, Crapfield.
Well, no, just this idea that anyone would want to go to the most barren land ever devised of in fiction. This idea that we would even wish to go there, where temperatures vary between the ridiculous level and the completely fucking mental, insane level, and just a place where really you couldn't get anything done other than sort of look
And
at
they
one
have to wear
another and be like,
diapers while
"Oh, we
doing it.
got here, guys."
And they would
We
have to
got
wear
it.
diapers.
That's a good question. If you were designing a craft, let's just forget space for a minute and pretend that the sky in Narnia is the place we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Let's pretend that Narnia sky is the most inhospitable place imaginable, right? Full of all sorts of highly toxic stuff and acids and all sorts of nastiness, right? And you said to yourself, right, I want to travel through that inhospitable region, the sky in Narnia beyond the wardrobe. Now, you're designing your craft. Would you try and make it as reliable as possible, and anything that had a potential to break, make sure it was very easy to access, definitely on the inside? Or would you say, I'm going to put the things that potentially might break on the outside? So should we ever need to service them, we'll have to venture out of the safety of the craft that we've built into a self-contained spacesuit. I can't think of a word that's Narnia based.
Spacesuit. You said you wouldn't say
forget the
space,
diaper.
Nathan.
I failed, and that ruined the suspension of disbelief in Narnia Sky now, didn't it? And I'm sorry, I'm not that good on the spot.
A
That's all right, mate.
pressurized suit.
Self-contained.
Can I answer the question, actually? So this idea that I think you fundamentally forgot something about these people. They're actually adrenaline junkies. Loads of them have worked with Red Bull and companies like this. They knew. Listen, they designed it perfectly correctly. They just knew they needed to make something fun about it. Like,
And
who
also,
the fuck
what's
is
really peculiar about that going on the outside to repair things is that ISS has supposedly been up there for 30 years already. Now, most of the technology that we use today, if it is a convenient thing, it's quite small and compact. And 30 plus years ago, everything was big and bulky and very analog to make it work the right way. So
I think
if they're still going outside to service 30-year-old components,
No, I get it.
30-year-old
It
technology.
was built for tough.
Yeah, no, what they're saying, what he's saying is, when it came to this question 50 years ago, the whole, should we put this stuff on the outside or the inside question, they went, well, it is very big and bulky. Let's put it on the outside so we have to risk life if it goes wrong. Because that was obviously more sensible 50 years ago when the equipment standard was bigger and bulkier. The whole inside-outside question, with it being more awkward, I mean, really, the vast size and awkward nature of it would make me more inclined to put it into the very dangerous region that you're traveling through. Yeah, I see your point.
Well, yeah,
Well,
the
maybe
issue
it came
is
because
even
they
if
had
they
to
were,
build it while they were there. So maybe they just figured, well, we're already outside. We're building it. Let's put this stuff outside.
Why would they be already outside? So you're traveling to the... Okay, let's take it into the real. So, right, submarines. How many sort of serviceable items do you think are on the outside of submarines?
But Nathan, you're also referring to them
I
as
wouldn't say
outside,
very
as in
many.
like
I'm not a
suspended in
sub
water. But they're
engineer,
traveling
but
at 17 times a rifle bullet alongside another object traveling at 17 times a rifle bullet
Okay, fine.
while repairing.
Fine.
while
Okay.
repairing that ship.
I'll add to my example. I don't mind. I'll accommodate. I'm that kind of guy. So we're in a submarine that's going to travel at Mach 7, right? And that
Now I'm
submarine
gonna go
underwater,
outside
Mach
and
7,
repair.
traveling very, very fast indeed. Would you think to yourself, I'm going to put some of the vital stuff... Hold on, the 50s submarines have the bulky, antiquated technology on the outside for serviced by men with flipper feet?
Never.
No.
Oh, do you want the actual
And the
answer?
shape. So we know that the pressure of water is pressing from the outside in, which is why a submarine is like a canister shape, so that the pressure outside, the circle can't give in on any one side, so it holds its form. Now it should actually be the opposite in space, where the pressure's on the inside pushing outwards. You wouldn't use a canister shape. You would actually use something that's more like a convex on the inside,
Like an
so that
well, you
when the
use a
pressure pushes
cylindrical.
out, it normalizes.
Well,
So even the design they chose for a low pressure environment is the same one they chose for a high pressure environment, and you'd never do that.
They did it completely wrong. Yeah, with submarines, right? Submarines have to be capable of being constructed with a so-called
You know what I
available
mean?
resources. Why do they do that? Why do submarines use so-called available
Like,
resources,
for
guys?
example, if you look at a diaphragm that they use to inflate something, the
Flat
diaphragm
Earth
is
Solar.
normally
Flat Earth
collapsed in on
Solar.
itself.
Can you hear Crack Villain?
No, I can't.
Unmute.
Yeah,
Ask him to
you guys
unmute.
are
Okay,
kind of
fine.
talking
Hold on,
over
hold
each
on,
other.
hold on, Crack Villain. Flat Earth Solar, just click on Crack Villain. You've
Oh, yeah.
probably got him locally muted.
Yeah, I did. Sorry, Crack.
That's all right, dude. I was just going to speak on what you were really talking about. So, if we so for instance, right, most submarines essentially have two hulls, right? I don't know how many ISS has, but all submarines mostly, well, weaponized ones anyway, have two hulls. These are the ones that are going to have the most systems on the outside, right? So we have weapon control systems, we have communications, we have a control room, we have battery banks, right? We have main and auxiliary machinery systems. But the pressure hull itself, it's called the pressure hull because it is literally designed to withstand the hydrostatic pressure of at the maximum operable depth of the submarine itself. So the outer hull, okay, and then you have the floodable spaces as well inside of the outer hull, because obviously some submarines actually flood themselves, right? The inside, the pressure hull, is shaped like a long pill. The outer hull is shaped like a tear duct or a tear drop or a actual eye that's Chinese. Sorry for lack of better terms. But
And
when we're
that's
talking
due
about
to once the pressure is applied, it then normalizes into a more rounded shape.
yeah,
So it's designed to take that outward pressure
right. So I'm
inward.
about to explain exactly that. So other designs obviously have completely different outer pressure systems with the pressure hull, right? With space and like they've got space for ballast between them instead of, let's say, flooding, right? These are the less advanced ones that don't have so much power for like pumping stuff out, right? But all of the pumps are implicated inside of said submarine. We have let's take for instance an MBTS, right? An MBTS, so we have an exposed pressure hull in some submarines as well. But the way that works is it actually uses the pressure itself in order to make sure that the submarine is safer because it has like a design in which where once pressurized, it's almost like imagine you had seams that were thin in like a honeycomb almost like effect. And once you put pressure on said honeycomb or said ball, it actually pushed the seams closer and tighter together, right? And this would allow you to have thinner walls at the same time. But the point really therein is that they're so advanced, the hulls of these submarines, right? So advanced. And they're shaped exactly like rockets, right? Which is what the funnier part is. And the ISS resembles nothing like this. We have so many different figures that I could show you of the way the pressure hulls work with these submarines. ISS resembles none of them. None.
Well, what they say
Absolutely
the
zero.
ISS is, in terms of its technical design, matches with the light in the sky that we see. So they've got to match it to that. Not some, need to justify how their sky vacuum works or how it would work within it. They just need to match it to the light in the sky.
Yeah, but there's a very good reason why they have a lot of their stuff on the outside of the ISS, because that's how they prove they're in space. If they didn't have it on the outside, they wouldn't be able to convince so many people.
They could be
you
in
need
a
a
reason
reason
for
in
them to
Florida.
go outside, to put on the fancy suit, right?
Yeah.
And show their skills, show what they do, right?
These are skilled people. These are not your ordinary person. They know what they're doing.
I don't know about Don Pettit, but yeah.
My favorite,
Well, maybe not him.
my favorite astronaut is Sandra Bullock.
Well, she's about as skilled and as qualified
me
as the
too.
rest of them. So yeah, Sandra
And
Bullock
she was
equally
outside, we
qualified
saw it.
to hang on a wire and pretend that she's in a sky vacuum. So she's doing the same job.
We have photos.
He said he'd do me an 8th as well with 250, but of like bang bang.
My favorite part of the whole ISS thing, what Globers have told me, oh yeah, they definitely built it out there. Well, why don't we have any footage of them doing this? Oh well, they didn't have the capability to do that. Oh, okay, so they were capable of building this thing in a second law of thermodynamics violation, but they couldn't film themselves building it in a second law of thermodynamics violation. That's great.
All right.
Fantastic.
Just very
And there would
quickly,
have to
guys.
be
Very,
significant
very
tethering.
quickly.
They couldn't
Very
agree
quickly.
upon how
So
to
there was
fake it,
one
so they just skipped
submarine.
it.
There was one submarine that had 1/8
We're
of
back
its
on the ISS.
1/8 of its instruments placed on the outside that were crucial to use, and it failed within the first 25 minutes of it being in underwater. And that was only that was just
Not a
1/8.
very good record, huh?
And it got down to a depth of 20 meters, and it failed.
Sounds
What year
dangerous.
was that crack? Do you have details on that sub?
I'm literally reading this right now in one of the Mariner books that I've got. Let me try and find the name of the actual sub because it's all in figures and like figure 9, figure 10, figure 11. Like these are like just basically people messing around, like kids messing around almost. But it just shows that like what they had perceived to work with the hull and the double pressured hull system is that this adds rigidity and strength, right? But the issue is, as soon as you put it underwater and all of these said things work under certain pressures, right? Let's say it's pumps, let's say it's air systems, let's say it's just a carbon scrub for oxygen, whatever it is, right? In order for the sub to run, the individual components may work on their own, but once linked into a circuit in tandem and placed upon different places of the submarine itself, and the submarine does its own job, and there's heat and expansion of the metals itself, it's very quick. It's so fast, in fact, that they just fail. If most people would know also that, for instance, torpedoes don't sit on the sides of submarines like the wings of attack helicopters or fighter aircraft. They're inside.
Indeed. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and becoming a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, another massive thank you to both Discord and G+ panels, and I'll see you all in the next video.